okay, and where they got in and how they got to us, along with a whole lot of other things about the technical portions of the UFOs. So I wrote one blog after another on the technical stuff, and it was pretty interesting. That happened to be one of my books. All of the blogs I thought were very interesting, and they were pretty thorough. So I put all the blogs together in one book. And when I did that, I had a pretty interesting book, and I called it Going Interstellar. So that was that's the book that I kept at an artificially low price because I wanted everyone to have a copy of that book and to understand what is going on with UFOs, how they get here, um, why they can do what they can do, just a whole series of issues. So, um, so I continued on with my writing, and I finished 3 other books, a series. They Are Here, and I talked about UFO sightings across the United States. And I tried to answer the question, why are they here? And that's how the next 3 books came along. And then you can probably see the background here of my name. I used the Earthquakes and UFOs as my 5th book, and I wrote about whether the UFOs are being found where they are because of the earthquakes. That was another book. So then, just most recently, I wrote another book with a friend, and she wrote it as if she was interviewing me, and it became pretty interesting. So I got to tell my story from beginning almost to end, and there's only 4 things that happened to me after the book completed, and it was pretty much fun. It really was a lot of fun. So that's me, and I'm going to be jumping on to this book. So this presentation, and it's going to be about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, or less even. And when I do that, it's going to be I am going to open up the field for questions. And what I hope to do here is to hit a little bit of everything and uh, and try to spur on some questions, get you thinking about the UFO field and some of the things you may have heard about and would like to know more of, and then we'll go from there. So let me, okay, Susan, you
Yeah.
have to make me a,
Okay. Let's see. Make host. Is that
yeah,
correct? Okay.
yeah, make me a host so I can
There you
do what
go.
I need to do. I'm a host now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, didn't say anything, but let's see what happens. Oh, look at that. All righty. So
I can't see
I
anything though
am,
on your Thomas Conwell thing.
you can?
I just see your cover photo. Oh wait, it's doing something. There we go. Oh,
Yeah,
I see it now.
that
Okay.
should pretty much do it. And very soon you're going to be seeing the presentation that I did. Um, Let me get to that.
Can everybody see can everybody see his screen?
It says Zoom on it.
Yeah. Yes, Darylyn says yes.
Okay. So what I need to do is to open this up. Okay. And you should see Unity Consciousness Circle, a primer to UFOs. What it did was, like I said before, it tried to give you a little bit of everything so that it would spur some questions along, and we'll see where we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom.
Okay,
Yeah,
here we
everybody
go.
can see it. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. When did this start? In other words, when did the UFO thing start to be here? Well, did it happen in 1947 with Roswell? Or could it possibly have happened with Kenneth Arnold? Because he saw a bunch of UFOs flitting around in the sky that he described as a saucer skipping across the sea. That's where the flying saucers came from. Did the first atomic bomb explosion create this? In other words, it got everybody's attention out there, and they saw the signature of an atomic device flash off, and that's why they had to come in and see what was going on. Was that it? Could it have been various times in the Bible and before the Bible where there was artwork back in the um, back in the BC range? There were at times several UFOs shown in those particular artworks. Want to know where they came from? We could it have been the Mahabharata? Now a uh, that is the one of the books in the Vedic scripture from India. Could it have been right after the last two great floods? And there were two of them. And we're talking 8 to 12,000 years ago. Could it have been before that from Atlantis? Could they have been here since then? Could it have been something else? Well, let's look into some of the possibilities and try to describe that. The interesting thing is this sighting of ships in the sky occurred across the entire world and all at the same time. It was written in the ancient scriptures. It was described in some of the Vedic books. It was described by people who were seeing these things and painting about them, all at the same time across the entirety of the world. One of the things I wrote about in They Are Here Volume 2 was that the ships that were seen occurred right immediately after the people started coming back out of their caves and whatever else after the last great flood. That these ships came out of the water. And in some of the instances, the people that came out of the ships were described as glowing. And they taught the people who survived how to set up a civilization, how to grow crops. And this occurred across the entire world all at the same time. This is really, really what it's all about. And some of the things that I wrote about in volume 2, they are here, describe this, and it is very interesting in that these things occurred in the northern climates of the United States, North America. It occurred in India. It occurred in the Middle East. It occurred in the Far East and in Australia. It was written and it's all checked back, all at the same time it occurred. And these people came out of ships that were in the water. And they were described, like I said, as glowing, but they were also described as part man and part fish. Well, the reason they were described for that is they walked out of the ships and the ships were in the water. So what are the people to think? Well, they must be fish. So all this happened at the same time, tens of thousands of years ago. Now, why? History diverges quite a way from religions at this point, and history described what occurred, and the religions had their own take on what people saw and whatever else. And at the same time, our DNA, the DNA within each of us, has taken significant leaps. Great changes have occurred in the DNA since the Earth came about. Since they walked out of the caves 10,000 years ago. But I mean, this happened way before that. And the people that survived the flood, I believe they were taken care of by these people that came out of the water. Now, God created us along with other races throughout the universe. That's what I learned in religion and grade school. God created us. Might he have been helped along the way? Now we understand God created the aliens, okay? Could the aliens have created us? And if they did, couldn't you possibly say that God created us? Because of that, God created the aliens created us. Now, nobody here, believe me, no one is trying to upend religions, to change your religious beliefs, because it is all relevant right now. And we likely will not find out who did what to whom.
There's a little bit of an echo, y'all. Make sure your microphones are off. Sorry, yep. Tom.
That's okay. Your beliefs are still 100% intact. It's all the same. And all will be revealed to us within the next 100 years, and very likely even sooner than that. Who did this? Well, this answer will be revealed over the eons from now and probably in the next 5 to 10,000 years. But we're going to get some answers along the way. They're going to talk about this. This is a UFO sighting map. It's one of the things I put together from the National UFO Reporting Center. to try to see if there are patterns in the things that are seen. Now, just so you all get a little idea of what's going on here, take a look at Western, excuse me, Western North Carolina, and you see a whole bunch of pins, red, yellow, and black, and they're all small pins. But you go up towards the East Coast, up towards New York City, and all of a sudden they become big pins. And I want you to see the key to the right, that once the big pins start appearing, they equal 20 little pins. There are so many sightings. Now, switch your view to the West Coast, Seattle and Oregon, and you see a bunch of different colored pins. What that is you will see the white as the same as the black, but they equal 100 black ones, 100 black little ones. The orange equals 100 red little pins, and the blue equals 100 of the triangles, which are yellow. So I wanted you to see what the generality of everything is here, how wide this is described, and you know, perhaps it would trigger a question in you. And let's hear if somebody does have any questions. I'd love to talk to them.
Let's see. Let me get back onto the. You might have to. So if we raise our hands, you might have to. I don't know. I can't get all the participants on the screen so I can see their raised hands. Does that make sense? So I don't know if you have to shut off the share screen to be able to see that. Is that something that we have to do?
It could be. Let me try to get out of the share screen.
Look at the chat on the bottom.
Oh, yeah, that worked. Okay.
Share. Okay. I stopped the share and you're back in control, Susan.
Okay. Okay. That worked, I think. Okay. Hey, everybody. So I have a few things that I took notes while y'all excuse my hair. I took notes while you were talking, and it's so interesting that you were talking about, the history of these sightings. And I'm just going to start with like the Bible's my thing, Tom. Like I'm into that right now, and really trying to piece together the missing pieces for people, because there's a lot of people coming out of what they were taught into more of questions, and so I'm glad that you covered that, because there's a whole series of artwork, like you said. There's one specific, I wish I had the picture. I'll find it and send it to everybody. But there's a picture of Mary with the Archangel Gabriel, and behind them is a ship, and it's up in the sky. And it's something that you wouldn't notice because you're focused on Mary and Gabriel. And then there's a ship in the sky behind them. And it's fascinating. I've never noticed anything like that. But there's several ancient pieces of artwork that depict that, and they're saucer shaped, but there's always like this beam of light coming down and touching Mary's abdomen or stomach. What is that? I mean, okay, you start thinking about that. Okay, so there's that. And we could go into all of what we might think that is. I think that's fascinating, because what is that saying to us? Okay, we're talking about Immaculate Conception, by what? What happened there? Yeah. So if you go back into these ancient pieces of artwork and you see the saucer shape behind Mary and Gabriel and other pieces, it just makes you think about that. You did mention like the glowing beings that came out of the water, And one of those that is depicted that way is Enki from, when we think about the Anunnaki, the Enki, or Enki. He was glowing and he was fish-like, you know.
Yep.
So that's something that really caught my attention there. And then all of the ruins and the cave drawings and everything that show these beings, they're not human, and they're thousands of years old. So, and it just baffles me that the masses are just now noticing that, but it's okay. I mean, we need to. I mean, it's time to, another thing that when you were talking about the glowing beings, that I have learned in the last few years when I'm on this journey of studying the ancient teachings and lost teachings, is that for Moses, when he came off Mount Sinai, the people could not look at him because he was glowing. And he looked like one of the watcher angels. That's how it was described. And for those that may not know that whole story, he went up the mountain, Mount Sinai, and he disappeared in a cloud for 40 days. And when he came back, he was glowing, and he didn't even look like himself when he had the 10 Commandments with him. So there's those things that kind of really caught my attention. And so and as far as the water thing, I believe there's a whole civilization of inner Earth, and that's where those are coming from, as well as like the cosmos as well,
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that caught my attention. And then of course, with Atlantis, and I mean, it just goes back for thousands and thousands of years. And it seems like we're just now starting to recognize all of those things. I think it's wonderful. And yes, I am in the camp that the Creator created everyone. And then we have, like, what do you want to call them? I don't know, co-creators or creator gods, I guess. That would be considered what we would call the Ankis and Enlils that did alter our DNA. I'm in that camp
Mm-hmm.
of that. And yeah, I just think it's all very fascinating. And I feel like they've always been here with us, and they've been watching out for us. They've just kind of left us alone for a little bit because we've gotten a little barbaric, I mean, they're just like, ooh, I don't know if I can do, we're just going to let them work this out for a little while. But I think it's all in a collective of what we're all connected. So I just, I feel like it's all going to come out, and it's going to add to the religious part of it. It's not going to take away, it's going to add to it,
Mm-hmm.
and fill in those pieces. So yeah. So if you have questions, just raise your hand and we'll get you on here. I'm sorry, I got text messages coming in for an offer. I'll deal with that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So does anybody have any questions or comments or things they'd like to share or whatever? Just let us know, because it's super interesting. And the other thing I was going to add real quick is the atomic bomb. What I've read on the atomic bomb is that when they set off that first atomic bomb, they actually came in, they did meet, like they met somebody. Who was it, Tom? It was was it the president or somebody next to him?
Eisenhower.
Oh, it was Eisenhower. Was it Eisenhower himself? Yeah. And said, we're not going to let you do this, because if you destroy this planet, you're going to affect everybody in the cosmos. So they came in and kind of smoothed everything out from where the bomb went off. And I've heard reports of, them being close to like nuclear facilities and kind of monitoring those things. So they certainly do not want us to blow ourselves up. I'll say that. And they, in one report, said that they would stop it if something like that happened.
I have heard that. Yep.
Yeah, they could stop it. So yeah, I'll just open it up. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Denise. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi,
So
Denise.
yeah, hi, nice to meet you.
You too.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same realm of thinking of Susan, and it was kind of interesting haven't figured out who it is at the moment, but I had a past life regression reading done a while back, and she told me that I do have a being with me. It's very tall. She couldn't describe him or it, whatever. I'm not sure how she coined it. But I go to Florida quite a bit, like the Fort Lauderdale area. And like I feel them. I'm in South Carolina, so I can feel them around and see the cloaking in the sky. But when I'm in Florida, I definitely, especially at the beach, feel their presence so much more.
I'm not surprised. Florida is one of the biggest sighting states within the United States. It, they have tons of sightings there. Um,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, one of the things that is common there, if you were to stand on the shore and look out over the ocean, you will see plenty of orange lights just sitting out over the top of the water.
Yeah, I'm actually going down this weekend.
Mhm.
My son is down in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm going to be down there the 18th through the 21st. And for the first time when I was down there, it's been almost a month, went night swimming and was out there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. My son's like, what are you looking at? I'm like, don't you see? He's like, well, kinda. And so he's coming into his own spiritual awakening, but
Yeah.
I'm excited to go back and like be able to dial into it a lot more. And I'm originally from Florida. So when I was looking at your map, I'm like, they definitely like Florida a lot.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it's a very, very unusual place as far as sightings go. Um, a lot of people say that there's an underwater base right there, but I'm not so sure. There's it. I'm sure there's one off the East Coast, and like there's one off the West Coast. But just because somebody sees one coming in off the water, well, the base must be right there. Well, not necessarily, because
Right.
they can fly from the East Coast to the West Coast in maybe 10 minutes tops. So
Right.
there's no reason for them to just come out of where their base is. They could come out of where their base is, and it could be over near Europe, and we'd never
Right.
know the difference. We just never
Yeah.
know.
One question I have for you and even kind of Susan. So there's a place in Cocoa Beach, Florida. I haven't got to go yet, where there's the plankton. And during certain times of the year, when you go swimming and you jump in the water, it's blue. And so I'm definitely wanting to go experience that when I get a chance. Any thoughts on that?
Um, well, no, I don't know about the blue plankton, um, because there's areas in Florida that have a tremendous runoff from fertilizers and stuff like that. And I
Yeah,
don't know if some of these that are strange colors may not be because of the fertilizer in the water. I
right.
really don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I can totally agree with that. So just thought I'd ask that question. But yeah,
Mhm.
like I'm finding this all very interesting. Definitely gonna have to get your book, and thank you for sharing your time with us.
Absolutely. One of the things that I wanted to mention, and Susan mentioned it, is probably the very first thing that happened to me after I became a paranormal investigator is I had a morning dream, and it was like really, really real. I mean, it was like it was like uh, the realest thing that I had ever experienced. And I was walking down a path in the fall, and I could feel leaves stuck to my feet. And as I walked down the path, then after a very short time, um, I came across this, well, for lack of a better word, a ship. And there was one person sitting outside of it. And this person was so bright, I couldn't look at him, just extremely bright. So he talked to me, and he said that he needed my help for something. And I thought, what do you need my help for? There's nothing that I can do that you can't. And he said, we need for you to to heal our associate who's on the ship. And I looked over at the ship, and this ship was about 6 feet tall and maybe about 3 feet wide. And I thought, how can a person be on that thing? He says, well, come on, let me show you. So he escorted me onto the ship. And when I got inside the ship, it was, well, huge. To say, there's no other word for it. It was absolutely huge. And they told me to go over near the person who needed the help and just stand there. And they would use my energy for their healing. And then after it was all over, they escorted me off the ship and thanked me. And I started walking back, and all of a sudden the ship wasn't there anymore. It didn't occur to me till about 5 years later that what they were trying to do was to show me how easy it is to heal someone. No, I never thought about it. It never occurred to me. So, and this person who was glowing, also, they were trying to tell me something else, that some of the people that I will come across will be glowing.
Nice.
So very interesting.
Yeah. Very, very. Thank you for sharing.
Sure. That was in my last book that was described, one of the very first things to happen to me. And the last book is entitled The Night Visitants.
Okay.
And believe me, there's all kinds of visitants talked about in this one, by myself and by the person that I was interviewing, because they had many encounters, including abductions. So
Yeah.
in all, is a
Yeah.
pretty interesting book, and I think you should consider taking a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I definitely want to take a look at it before March. I think it's March. We're going down to Savannah on a school field trip, and that's already a very interesting place in and itself. So I definitely gonna brush up on a lot of things before I gonna field trip with my 7th grader. He's almost 13. Because a lot of people don't realize all the paranormal activity and different things that take on and happen in Savannah.
Oh yeah, that's an active place for sure.
Very active.
Yeah. I noticed, Susan, your hand was up. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, I just I wanted to just jump on your dream there. For one thing, I don't think it was a dream. I think it was an experience, and probably a lucid experience that many of us probably have, and don't realize it, because I didn't realize until recent years that I was or am an experiencer myself, and I didn't understand what I was experiencing, like the dreams or the dream that you just described. And what goes along with that is, like, I don't know if you experience like sleep paralysis where you can't move,
No.
because that's what I experienced throughout my childhood. And then I would find myself in, with other beings or in another place, I would say on a ship or whatever. So that is one thing that I think is really important for people to understand, is when you have these experiences like your dream, is that those probably are not dreams. And they're probably actual experiences that you're having. And if you think back, through your life and all these strange happenings that you experience, they probably are, I would say they are real experiences to some degree. And I've been having these experiences my whole life. And they vary, in what goes on in these things. It could be something like a lucid experience like you described, or like I said, I would have sleep paralysis. Then I'll find myself somewhere else. My last lucid experience was with who we know and who I perceived as Anki, and it was pretty interesting because it happened over a 3-week period, and I had 3 or 4 different experiences, but each experience it would pick up where the other one left off. And so, and I learned so much from him actually. And it was, and I want another one. I haven't had any, and I think that's me. I know it's me. Just being so busy and distracted. I think when we get grounded and focused, we can really connect, and that's really important to remember. So yeah, and I mean, you've had experiences also with seeing orbs and things, and a lot of people I know have done that themselves. They've had they've seen orbs either in pictures or you know with their own sights off in the distance, like you were talking about at the beach. And Denise, I've had so many experiences at the coast, like you were saying, at the beach is when I get some major downloads. I don't know why, but I get major downloads there, and I see a lot of things. So that's always, a great thing to experience when you're there, or try to, just kind of pay attention if you're at the coast, because I think that's a really good hot spot, like you were saying, Tom. Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary to be at the beach.
No.
You can have these things anywhere. Just have a pure heart and think your way right into their lives, and they will acknowledge you.
Right. And I think that when we see these ships too, if we catch a glimpse of it, the person next to us may not see it. And I think they're phasing in and out of our reality. Like you were saying, it might take just a few minutes to go from one coast to the next. What I learned through downloads, and I've also heard people say, is they're actually folding the fabric of space and time. They're creating what would be a wormhole. Is that what you would call it? But they're folding that fabric,
Perhaps.
Like point A, point B, and just folding it like a piece of paper. And all you have to do is step over to it. So you can be in one place 1 second and in a totally different geographical area in the next. And then, like I said, I think they do kind of phase in and out, but it depends on your vibration, like where you are in your awareness, like you just said. So it's so much fun. I'm glad they're showing up, for many of us these days. Yeah. But yeah, so it looks like Kathleen has her hand up. Kathleen, what do you have there?
Hello, Kat.
Yeah, hi. Thomas, hi. Thanks for doing this tonight. I have spent a lot of time in the last few years going through all kinds of experiencers online. We all think we know all these things that we've heard from others. And it's nice to have you corroborate a lot of it. And it's like some of my favorite experiencers are like Alex Collier, who's an Andromedan experiencer. And I listened to a lady named Elena Danayan from who did our archaeology in Egypt for a long time. And she has a book, and I thought of her right away when you mentioned bases in Florida. Her book on Gift from the Stars, you're probably familiar with her. She does extraterrestrial contacts and guides with alien races, and she actually has it illustrated with hundreds of races that she has drawings of. She's an artist. And on one of the pages of her book, she mentions Florida, and that there was a mass. In fact, most of her information she's gotten is she's a soul person from, I think she's Pleiadian. I can't be sure. Right off the top, I'm thinking she's Pleiadian, and that she has contacts, and she's considered an emissary right now from the Galactic Federation of the Worlds, GFW. And I mean, we're getting a lot of information from various ones now. They're just coming out and telling us we're going to see more ships, and that's their way of disclosure, is to continue to show ships. And that we're coming into being invited into this Federation of Worlds as a spacefaring member of the cosmos. We are as a whole entire Terra, Gaia here. And it's just so fascinating to know that, and that they love us, they're watching us. There's at least 2 other species I'm aware of, Arcturians and Andromedans, and the Pleiadians, which I mentioned. But her base that she mentioned in her book was at Eglin. An Eglin massive base is in Eglin. She calls it the Orion Alliance. Is a spaceship base down there. And then Dr. Michael Sala has had a gentleman on who's active Army right now. His initials are J and P, JP. He has been underground in Florida, and he has seen some of Enki's scientists whose bodies were put in stasis. He's seen them. He's been underground, and he's met groups called ant people. So if you go on YouTube and you look up Dr. Michael Sala and you go back and go through all his interviews on YouTube, which are free, and you look at the JP interviews, and JP is active member Army, and he's been off planet on many assignments, and he literally is telling people that his upline military want him to disclose. They want him to talk about his experiences. And they're really fascinating, and they're available. Like I said, there's this Dr. Sala interviews are online on YouTube, and Mrs. Elena Danayan, she is online. So I'm not telling anybody something they don't know. A lot of people on this call probably are accessing all of this. But I think it's so exciting, and I keep asking for my encounter. You know, I'm willing to have it. I'm asking for it. I think that's part of it. And it's going to be really wonderful. I'm just so excited for our galactic future, for this whole planet. That's guess what I have to say.
Okay. The things that happen to me, are or were extremely unsettling. And I had a really big kickback here.
Yeah,
here.
Kathleen, I think you have yours on.
Yeah. If you could mute. Yeah. Okay, that's probably it. As I was having events occur to me, for the most part, I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't even know what they were when they were happening. It took me about 5 years after the fact for me to see what was actually occurring, because I didn't believe that it could happen to me. And now that I have experienced these things, I need to go back and reestablish what I think, how I think, and talk to whomever was talking to me again, so maybe I can understand them. And it's very, very heartening to know that someone is talking to you. But then again, at the same time, it's very confusing because you just don't know what's actually occurring. Like, you have a dream, you don't know. You have some thoughts when you wake up in the morning. Who knows what they are? Who knows if perhaps your mind wasn't just active at night and you thought of these things. So very, very interesting. And I think we all need to hold on to what actually is happening, so we can look at them slowly, carefully, and judge what's happening to you individually. So thank you for your question, Kat. That was very, very good. Geraldine, you have your hand up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, there you are. Hello.
Hi.
Well, I'm kind of old school and been around the block. My first encounter of being in white light was in the 60s. I was a kid, and I believe I was tagged because the first time I was in the light, I was like maybe 80 feet straight up above. And then over the years, the tagging came in my sleep, but sometimes I woke up with unique bruises. My encounter was Wisconsin, and when you showed that map where the hot spot was in Wisconsin, yep, that's where I was raised.
Oh, wow.
And so it was no water involved. And it was like, I think Kat kind of touched on it. I mean, I kind of went away and didn't deal with it because it was too much for me for a long time. And way back then, it wasn't acceptable. So, you kind of just shut up and real careful who you talk to. But I think Kat touched on, you guys are so much more educated on all of this and the different, I believe, different planets. And I guess that's what she was getting at, different, kind of like we have Asians, Europeans and all that kind of stuff here. I think they have the same thing with the aliens. And so it's just kind of interesting to open my mind back up to some of this. And it's about every 15 years or so I have an encounter. So I'm due. But I'm going to be ready this time.
Good for
I'm coming
you.
over, Geraldine, when you do. I'm just going to come over and be there with you.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, honey, you will be there with me because I'll probably be in the zone when we're in Arizona.
I've got my bags packed just in case.
Yeah. But it's everybody's encounter and their interpretation and their experiences are all so different. And I feel like mine is so like old fashioned kind of thing. But I don't know. It's a lot to take in. But the tagging, I really do believe that they do that to certain people. And it hit the area. I was raised in a real small community. And after I left, I found out multiple people had experiences. So, and there's no water, which, when you guys were talking about the water, which made me think maybe it's different planets that are coming by. I've also had a lot of visits with orbs. So there's, for years and years and years, I was scared to death, but I'm not afraid anymore. So I'm just kind of rambling, kind of sharing some of my experiences in case somebody else had the same thing. The one movie they had, I don't know if you guys saw it, Fire in the Sky. My ex-boyfriend, that was his buddy. That was Travis Walter. Well, I think Walter was his name. Walton. And the thing that freaked me out the most is when he was at the window and had those 4 fingers that were on the window, the size of suction cups, about the size of a nickel. I had an out-of-body experience in my sleep. When I woke up in the morning, those were the bruises I had on my legs. And when I saw Fire in the Sky, I almost had a meltdown.
Yeah, well, I can imagine.
Because it was just so intense. So it's just, of course, that was a long time ago, and I'm older now. So it's just, I don't know. I'm not making a lot of sense. I'm just kind of basically rambling, but but it's pretty interesting, the whole.
Yeah, it
whole
really
thing.
is. It really is interesting. And once everybody in the world figures out how many people have actually had experiences, that number is going to be way up there, and everyone's going to realize that something is going on, and that will be the point at which they do, I believe. And
well, it's, when you look out into the universe, and then what is that new web the web satellite where they're showing all the stuff that happened a long time ago. I
Mhm.
mean, why would we be the only planet with life on it? It
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
even make sense to me.
No, it really doesn't make sense. You know darn well that there's hundreds of trillions of civilizations out there. So, yeah, they're all around us.
Anyway,
All
thanks for
around us.
sharing.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
You too. Bye now. Denise, you had a question?
Yeah, so Susan, I know not all that long ago, posted a picture where she had some markings on the back of her neck that she was trying to figure out. And so with I think it was Kat, I'm not keep catching up everybody's names, saying what she did about having markings and stuff. I've had experiences over the last few years with waking up with different like bruisings or markings and stuff like that. So what is that? Does that mean anything in particular? Because I don't always remember. I know I'm
Yeah.
encountering, but I'm not remembering it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, they don't want you to remember, and they're doing what they're doing for whatever reason they have. I don't know what that reason is. We can guess. Uh, will we eventually guess the right thing? Yeah. Um, are they just checking on DNA? Could be. Are they just checking on you because they looked at you when you were a child? Sure, that makes sense. Um, I'm not really sure. Uh, I have, I've been tagged or marked. Um, I woke up one morning with a very large black eye. Very strange. It's never happened to me before. Don't know where it came from, and don't recall anything unusual at night. This is just what happens to us, and they have found ways to keep us from remembering.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. Does
Can I
anyone else have
make a
any
comment?
questions? Oh, you betcha. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Under Eisenhower, I understood from what I've read under the history that there was a Creato Accord that was signed after Area 51, and that was not just the beginning there, but it's what we hear about. And that basically our US government gave permission for them to take us, that they could use us for DNA and sampling and sex cells to do whatever they wanted to do. So you can thank your US military for the fact that you get abducted, because as a human species, somebody had to agree for us because of the free will, which is the prime directive from source. It's prime directive. So we're not allowed to be done, infringed on. So I really think a lot of us who've had disturbing things, and I've had where I was frozen and I couldn't move on Florida somewhere. We were living in an apartment. I woke up in the morning. I felt a feeling of something on my body. It was like a weight. And then I had this feel where I couldn't move. I couldn't even talk. And it hasn't happened, thank you God, more than that. But it is very disturbing and scary. And I think that as a free will individual, you ought to be able to override whatever your government permitted for them, because they were trading technology and they wanted more of it. So they wanted them to have access. And the gray race supposedly needed our DNA to upgrade. There's so much out there to learn, and you hear about it and you get real upset that you've been traded. So why can't we just tell them no, Thomas? Out of your
So,
own free will, you just
wow.
say we don't want this to happen anymore. It's your choice.
Yeah, of course it is. You can try that mentally. That would be your only access to them. Think it, and
Yeah,
maybe it will stop it.
or maybe in your prior, before you incarnated on this cycle, you may have signed contracts. I'm understanding that from my readings of Dolores Cannon and various other ones, that I didn't know for many years I reincarnate. My Christian beliefs had stymied that faith, that belief. But if we incarnate, I understand you've contracted before you came here for certain experiences.
Sure.
And we don't remember it because you get mind wiped. Absolutely. Like you wake up in the morning, you don't remember a dream. So that could be also part of it. Not to say it's 100%, but we might have permitted it. And like we just said, okay, when I'm born and I'm in an earth body, if you need my cells or you want my DNA or whatever, I'm going to give you permission. You know, if it helps our race of our own beings, you know, other beings, where a lot of us are souls from other places. We're not all human souls. And we may have come from other races. I didn't realize that till I heard Alex Collier talk about his soul is Andromedan. And he made a contract to come here and be born as a human, but he's been back on the ships with his Andromedan family, which was a shock to him at 9 years of age. So his whole story is online. He's knowable. He's been one of the biggest ufology talks people since the 1990s. He's been talking, and everybody thought he was crazy to begin with. But anyway, so that's my take on it. I think you just say no. No more bruising, no more black eyes. You don't need any more of my cells. And no, thank you very much.
Certainly worth a try. Suze, you had a question?
Hey, it took me a second to get my microphone. Yes. I just wanted to touch on the experiences that people have and kind of go back to what Geraldine was saying, what Kathleen was saying. I think it's all a matter of perspective, because I kind of subscribe to the idea that we agreed to some of this before we came here. Of course, I had to learn that we actually reincarnate, first. And so then that felt right to me that we had these agreements before we come here, but we don't remember anything. So that's where, the initial fight or flight thing comes in when we're semi-conscious in these lucid experiences. We don't know what's happening because we don't remember. So once you can change your perspective of it, that fear kind of goes away, or it makes it less anyway. You can kind of direct yourself to that of, hey, I know what's going on here, so I'm not going to be afraid. And that fear kind of goes away. That's what's worked for me. And also, like I said, I believe that. I think that we do. And I think that, when Geraldine was saying that she was so afraid before, and so was I. I mean, I felt that fear when I was younger. I had no idea what was going on. I think most people do. That's part of the conditioning too. Anything outside of what we know as quote normal, or within the confines of, say, the way you were raised as far as religion and your beliefs, and anything else is, for a lot of us anyway, maybe not everyone, but for a lot of us, anything else outside of that is considered evil. And so we've got that cutoff there of, where what we feel like is okay. And I'm just happy now that is kind of shifting a little bit. Some places it's a lot quicker for that, and some places it's not, geographically, depending on where you are and how, how you were brought up, and right immediately where you live, how things are. But that's kind of where I come from that's what I've kind of learned, and that's what feels right to me, is that we, if you can just shift your perspective from that fear to an understanding, then you don't have that fear, and you're able to kind of move through that experience and know what's going, or know a little bit more of what's going on. So yeah, that's all I had with that, because that's what I've done myself, and just kind of shifted my thoughts on that. And that's all I have.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everything 100% makes sense. And I just wish that we all were born with an innate understanding of what is real to them and what may be real to somebody else. I would love to know exactly which events were fostered by me and which were influenced by someone else. Just love to know it.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. So I think we all experience that somewhat, of what we feel like is us, and it's really important to get in touch with that heart centeredness and to know what you actually feel and believe. And that takes work every day, I think, so yeah. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything? We have about 5 minutes or so. So does anybody else have any questions or want to share anything? I'm going to share links, and I would like to get the links to your books, which I can get those, Tom, and share it with everyone.
Sure.
And then also I'm gonna pull that artwork. I'm gonna pull that artwork too.
Yeah.
That I was talking about, and share that.
And Manny
Holly
has a question now.
Yeah, Holly does.
Hey there, guys. I'm sorry. I've got a funky camera thing going on and I'm working at the same time. So please bear with me. This is not me. This is my husband.
Okay.
That's Manny. Anyway, just something I wanted to put out there. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with this, but what has been my personal experience, I am Chickasaw, and I've been on my shamanic journey since 2005, actively looking for my path and becoming a shaman. And one of the things that started occurring during my life and doing this is I was terminally ill with 3 different terminal illnesses, and it was really severe. And I was down for probably about 12, 13 years in a chair, everything. I mean, it's been unbelievable. And long story short, what happened was back in 2020, through the amazing program of ketamine therapy for pain and for as well as depression and everything, but mine was a pain regimen. I was able to go into a dissociative state and be able to turn my body off, per se. And during that time, I was constantly, like, regularly visited. And I was told that through my native blood, that we had a contract, and that basically they had come to save me, and because I had really good things to do, and I needed to make sure that I was tip top shape as fast as I could get there. And so it's literally been it's been like 2 years now, and it's only taken 2 years for me to get out of a chair, and I'm walking again, and I'm doing physical therapy like 3 times a week. But at the same time, I get these downloads, and I get all of the upgrades, if you will. And it's just awesome for me to be able to actually tell everybody here, except for because normally it's my husband that only hears this, and my daughter knows some of it. But I try not to trip her out too much. But yeah, it just I'm validating everybody else's experience, as well as letting y'all know that I know that the Hopi Indians were very, very closely linked. And the first who came to me was Pleiadians, and then I believe the Arcturians were the second race that has helped me. And it's been pretty amazing, and I'm just very blessed, and I'm very happy to be here to hear about all of this, and like I said, get the validations, because it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it causes you to step back and say, "Oh my goodness, how did that happen?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and I explained in my last book, so many things happened to me, and I still had no idea what was going on. And
Yeah.
then there was a big moment, and it just crashed down on me, and I realized what was happening, and it was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And once you feel that, I think that you get so excited inside of you that you don't know what to do with your energy. I mean, I got
That is
so
exactly
excited.
what I'm suffering from right now. I can't figure out what I'm supposed to do, and I can't get enough messages. It's terribly difficult, but I'm just sitting here going, okay, what do I do now? I mean, I'm not physically tip top yet, but I'm getting there. And it's, I'm a healer and I do massage therapy, and I'm probably going to go into the quantum healing technique, the hypnosis, Dolores Cannon. And I believe that I'm going to study to do that, to be part of my practice, at least to start to do that while my body catches up. But it's just something that I mean, for everybody to be saying all these things that are validating everything that is a culmination to this moment right now is just extremely, extremely wonderful. So yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
I get it 100%. I fought for years trying to understand why me. And I guess even bigger question that hit me is, who am I to think this happened to me? But once I finally realized it was indeed happening, I opened up my heart, my soul, whatever the word may happen to be, and took everything in stride and accepted everything that I was given. So I get it.
Thank you, Tom. That was
Sure.
really good. We're about to run out of time here. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to comment or share? Anybody? Okay. I can actually, so what I'll do is I'll post some links, because this is recorded. So I'll post some links with the link and send it to everybody so they can have it. And the other people that couldn't join us tonight, I've gotten some requests for the recording. And so, yes, we'll put some links in there, and I will, I'm going to post those awesome pictures, artwork that I've, come across. That's so fascinating to me. And like I said, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Tom, you know that I'm like diving into the lost teachings and what is Christ and who is that, and all of that. So it's so fascinating. But I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. And I'll share your books, because the last one, I can't put it down. I don't have very many moments during the day, but right before I go to bed, I'm reading that. So I'm picking through it. And I want to get my copy. I'll send that to you so I can get that. But
great.
yeah,
Susan?
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Susan, thank you for doing this. I was thinking of a topic for your next time, and I'll send you some links to some books and Audible books I listen to about hybrids, that I think that we need to understand that there are many hybrids among us in this world, and that's one of the ways they got around the prime directive of not interference. They became one of us.
Right.
And there are a lot of them on the planet at one time right now. And they're actually coming forth and giving testimonies. And somebody made a book out of all of their stories. It's just incredible.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. If you could share some of that with me to share with everybody, that would be amazing.
Okay. Have a good evening. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Kathleen. Okay, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody jumping on. Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate it.
Well,
this has been
my
great.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. If you'd like to see me or some of my books or whatever else, you can do that by looking at going to the Sleepy Hollow Paranormal Conference or the New Jersey Paranormal Conference, and you'll get a chance to have me sign a book. You can buy it from me directly. You get a chance to see that big map that I showed you, because when you walk up on it and look at it, it's really quite amazing. And so.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, send me those dates, because that might be a good road trip. I don't think you're that far away. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for jumping on with us, and thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. And it was just a lot of information, a lot of good stuff. I appreciate it. But yeah, so everyone have a great night, and I will share all of Tom's info and his books and the links and everything that anybody has. Like Kathleen, she always has some great information. She keeps me up to date with everything. So I will share that with everyone. But thank you so much.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. See y'all later. Thank you all.